Hello, everybody.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Now we can hear each other. That's great.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Hey, everybody.
All right.
Hey.
Well, welcome, everybody, and thank you for showing up on time. That's highly appreciated. I wanted to do a quick intro for everybody. And of course, today we're going to have a topic of the new era of digital asset security for 2026. So the experts here today are Dennis Ivanov, co-founder and CEO of Extractor by Hacken, a great colleague of mine. Thomas Zraunig, CISO
Yes.
from 21X AG. Sean Spaniol, head of cybersecurity at Ethereum Foundation. Martin Quensel, co-founder of Centrifuge. Gentlemen, it's a great pleasure and an honor to have you here today. If I can ask that you guys go ahead and take a minute or few to do an intro and tell us what it is that you do and what it is that we should know about your career path. How about we
I can
start with
start.
Thomas? But
Oh, go.
since you volunteered, go ahead.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Igor. As mentioned, I'm CISO with 21X. Historically coming from traditional finance, been long in banking and insurance business. And what we are doing now is we are building the first fully regulated DLT trading and settlement system in Europe. We are licensed under the DLT pilot regime in Germany. And what we are allowed to do is to combine the exchange and CSD into a single layer. This means we don't just do trades, we settle them atomically against stablecoins. So digital assets versus stablecoins. There is no clearinghouses involved. There is no T+2 delays in settlement. No reconciliation because we have the blockchain as the layer of the register. And basically we're building a capital market infrastructure for future finance.
Very cool. All right, Sean. I guess I'm just going based on the way you guys appear on my screen. So there's no particular
Yeah,
order. If you guys are not seeing it the same way I am.
that was perfect, Igor. Thanks. Hi, everybody. My name is Sean Spaniol. I work at the Sweet Foundation, where I lead the cybersecurity program for the foundation. My background is traditionally in government and finance cybersecurity programs, though I transitioned over to Meta's fintech business unit to lead cyber operations and intelligence there. Ultimately, the SWE network spun out of Meta's, Novi Libra DM project, and so that's how I became a member at the SWE Foundation, supporting our layer one. So it's great to be here with everybody.
Yes, Sue's old friend of ours. Been working with you guys for a bit. Thank you very much. And then Martin's next up.
Yeah, hi everybody. Thanks for having me here. Martin, I'm founder of Centrifuge. Sorry for being in a rush when I most likely entered my name. So Centrifuge, my role there as founder and president is missing. Yeah, what is Centrifuge? Centrifuge is RWA infrastructure for DeFi. It's really bridging I think traditional finance, real world asset space, basically everything that is not a digital or crypto asset in the real world into what we call tokenization into the space, but really going beyond that. So really how to structure those assets, manage those assets, bring them on chain and make them basically also accessible for the likes of 21X, etc. And of course also to the investors we are serving on chain, pioneering actually that space even before DeFi was a thing. So it started in 2018, being the first with RWA vaults together with Maker, now made known as Sky in 2019. So really most likely an OG of tokenization. Thank you.
Great to have you here. And finally, Dennis, please take it.
Hi everyone. My name is Dennis. I am CEO of the Extractor project by Hacken. What we are doing, we are providing basically a security operations center for DeFi companies, and at the same time, based on this engine, different risk score of digital assets and companies for the regulators and asset managers, because we have ability to understand all the risks on-chain, off-chain in real time and combine them. It gives ability to different parties first to understand their risks and to build an instant response on top of it. Honestly, I'm very jealous to Igor, because he has an opportunity to ask all of you guys so many different questions. Yeah, but let's go.
I'd like to keep this a democratic environment where if anybody else has something to contribute, please go ahead. This is an opportunity for all of us to share experiences and actually get the importance of security implementation and all other things that of matter to us, right? So thank you very much. And a brief intro. My name is Igor. I'm Chief of Growth for Hacken. My background's in TradFi. And then I got sick of that, got into the digital space and haven't looked back. So this has been a wonderful journey. Like most of you guys have traditional backgrounds, but all somehow we ended up here. I don't know. I haven't regretted since. Great. So let's start off. So the 2025 is officially over by a month, given that this was supposed to be done a little bit earlier, but nonetheless, we're here. So last year was a record-breaking year where we've had over $4 billion in losses due to in one word or other vulnerabilities, exposures, and so on. One major case, we'll touch on that shortly. But you know, as an infrastructure, how do we stop it? Like today, we stopped talking about if and start talking about how. So how do we secure the 2026? How do we make security not a bolt-on feature that we implement that after everything is done? And how do we make it so that it's a continuous security process? How do we make sure that the security is embedded into the infrastructure, into the architecture of the projects? I guess I can start with asking the same question for all of you guys. What was the most shocking incident of 2025 that changed how you think of risk, and how do you guys mitigate it? So I guess let's start with Dennis. Let's go backwards this time.
I would say definitely Bybit, but at the same time, I would say that let's not underestimate the complexity of the hack and the whole things that Bybit were doing before for their security. But at the same time, the lesson, it's from our side and how we see it and how we're trying to transform all that we are doing. It's not about the ability to secure something in one point of time, but to have as much ability to oversee all your infrastructure, all your processes, and everything that you do, especially when you are signing something big, to have the stop controls and so on and so forth. Like understanding the full picture, I believe it's the main thing for this year and the new reality for all security specialists. Because if previously just an audit was an understanding of resilience from the community, at least, I believe that this myth is gone, and the resilience now it's much more than just an audit or in one point of time. Yeah, my takeaway.
I definitely agree with that one-off security solution that used to be popular and which we're part of is no longer an active approach. I absolutely agree. Martin, what do you have to say about this?
For me, it's not really a single incident. That's really, I think, the advent of AI being used not just to kind of find loopholes in code and tools, but really also being used on scale for social hacking. Hey, let's be honest, number one attack vector is still the humans, not the technology. It's how we are using technology tools in the underlying, or kind of misuse it maybe to a point, and that really AI was used for social engineering attacks on scale, that was really breathtaking. And I think that journey will just continue, So, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
I
mean,
guess
I agree with
yeah,
both
yes.
what Martin and Dennis were saying about Bybit, of course, being the number one in terms of news coverage and impact. But also, it's not just about how do we protect one component. That's a multi-layered approach to security. And I think for a long time, there's been this idea that it's so important to focus on the security of the layer one or the layer two at the protocol level. But there's so much more happening in other places. And I'll talk more about this later on, but it's why we focus so much on supporting the ecosystem with a multi-layered approach of security solutions.
Yeah, also for me, it wasn't a single incident, I would say. That what amazed me last year was the amount of software supply chain attacks we had, with malicious libraries being published to the world and affected companies throughout the industries, which I think made clear that we need to have this kind of supply chain risk management much better in shape. We need to get better there. The industry as a whole needs to raise the maturity here, not only Web3, also other companies, and do not blindly trust any open source libraries. Validate them and verify them before putting them to production.
Absolutely. When it comes to security, do not blindly trust anybody. So, why do you think that the audits itself is not stopping the bleeding, right? So, I've mentioned before that the new era of different attacks. The Martin brought up a good point of AI implementation. So they're getting creative. Still, the it's not the technology that is attacking us. It's still at the end of the day there's a human sitting there, but they're using new tools. They're using new implementations, new vectors, and so on. AI is a big one. And so I guess this one's for you, Dennis. With Bybit's 1.465 billion, we keep on talking about the major loss for last year, and let's put a number to it. It's rather big. It's 1.465 billion, and it wasn't a smart contract bug. So it was access control failure, which proves that other methods of security needs to be implemented. And what do you think we need to focus on outside of audits?
Um, I believe that the security stopped being it never been. It was received as a state, but it's not a state. It's a process, as we discussed, and specifically with the Bybit, we see the tendency that smart contracts are not anymore number one like reason for the hacks for many quarters already, and the percentage of the smart contract vulnerabilities is lowering down. And as you said, access control or other operational vulnerabilities are the reason for the hack. With the Bybit case, despite a multi-sig and despite everything, it was very complex hack. Extractor and many other real-time monitoring companies are replayed it and come up with their own solution after the hack, of course. But it's all about, of course, ability to oversee the anomalies, ability to oversee in real time what's happening, not that it's expected to be, and ability to react to it. So in our case, we match it with a hash mismatch, but there are dozens of additional solutions how you can see it and how you can prevent it. But basically, it's all about ability of CISA, I believe CEO, to understand the real timeness and the state of what's happening, and having some control and some stop measures. My takeaway.
Very interesting. So in my point of view, as we're all growing up here in the industry is becoming not crypto but digital assets. I keep on constantly saying that, but I feel it's true. Where we're back to suits out of the hoodies and such. So the one thing that needs to grow up as well is the implementation. So the Web 2 is definitely overspending compared to the Web 3 industry in terms of implementation security. And we have a panel here of people with some substantial background in the traditional security sector that do understand that proper implementation and proper support needs to be done. I guess this one's for Martin maybe. How do you feel that we need to oversee the daily support? What needs to be done from our understanding from the traditional business to the digital world? Because each vector of attack is becoming more and more expensive. What should we do with that?
Yeah, a difficult question, so there's most likely not the perfect answer for that. I think, it's really continue from the learnings we're having in Web 2, kind of, people are issue number one first, you need actually responsibility, kind of training procedures and processes being in place. What has to happen if an incident is occurring, if something suspicious is happening. So you really need kind of, clear escalation paths for whenever something is happening, but also underlying training, make people aware of it, share incidents, do retrospectives, postmortems on anything which has happened, even incidents which were just detected but didn't cause any further issues, things like that. You need to be very transparent in an organization with all these things, and certainly Web3 is adding additional risk on Web 2. Then, as you mentioned, smart contract risk. It's also kind of, the intersection. It's all kind of, everyone is using tools which are on-chain and tools which are off-chain, both being connected. And that is also another attack vector, the Bybit hack is a perfect example for that, I think one other most likely coming thread is that more and more code is produced by AI. So if you look at just, our engineering team, I think, I'm so sad for juniors, more and more, focused on senior developers using OpenAI Codex, Claude Code, etc., to produce an enormous amount of code, being much more productive than in the past. Really, sometimes, in a day, generating output which a traditional software developer may have produced in 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. And also that has really changed, I think how we need to consider actually security audit of these codes. So that needs to be a process which is really embedded in the software development process. And I think traditional audits where you say, hey, I ship that code and have someone looking over it, I think that time is over.
100%. We do see quite a bit of that vibe coding infrastructures coming our way, and it's interesting to see
it's
that
happening. And I think, I think totally, Igor, it's happening, and we, I think, trying to be very careful, because I think our code is much more, sensitive to attacks and the issues it could cause. But other projects, most likely with less infrastructure critical code, do that already order of magnitude. I'm pretty sure there is projects right now at the moment shipping code for 50% or more of the code they are never being inspected or reviewed by a human being.
So you bring up a very, I mean, way off topic what I have here, but let's go with this, right? So idea is to have some fun. So these people that are using the infrastructure of AI to build and to expedite and to get the product out there sooner and to cut the time, they're also using that AI to audit, to validate, and to implement security. And then I'm going to have to ask Sean, because I know how SUI takes their security seriously, like firsthand, because we're part of it. But like, what is your opinion on that? I mean, like, because you're dealing with dApps deploying, like, what are the measures you guys set, and how do you approach that? I mean, because my mindset is like third party review is a mandatory thing, but a lot of these guys are like, why do I need you? I build this with Claude. ChatGPT told me I'm great, because they never tell you you're you're a little bit short a few screws, but so like, what is your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, you're totally right. And AI enables the actor to be better, faster, more nimble. It enables the defenders to do the same. It shortens the window of attack to response, right? It allows us to detect things faster, but it doesn't allow the defender to get ahead of the attacker, right? The attacker can still utilize AI to use novel techniques or different social engineering campaigns that haven't been seen before. And so we actually look at this from, as I mentioned earlier, this like multi-layered approach where we look at things like real-time monitoring and response, looking at operational process review, also doing the contract vulnerability discovery, and also having conversations with protocol teams around contract development standards. And so we sort of try to defend at all those multiple layers. And sometimes, the attacks will get through one of the layers or two of the layers, but we're still able to identify at least or prevent some of the other attack methods at different layers of the life cycle.
Yeah, very cool. And Thomas, what is your take on that last one? I'd like to hear more people.
So I think at first you need to make yourself clear where you want to have AI code put in production, how critical the system is. Do you really want it there at all? That's the first question you need to ask yourself. Secondly, we
Oh, I believe it's connection.
Okay. Oh, he is back. Let me. I guess I have to let him in.
okay, back again.
Welcome back.
Can you hear me? I lost
We
some
can hear you.
connection.
Yes. No worries. No worries.
Good. Yeah, but if you decide to use AI code, I think you need to put the focus on testing and scanning of the code, even more than with manual developers. And yeah, I think definitely you can use it. You need to determine where you want to use the code and focus on testing and validation of that code even more.
Okay.
Igor, you said that we can have fun. Can I add my quick question here?
Please.
Because I love to hear about multi-layer approach. My previous background is B2C, like antivirus and VPN, and for big audience. And we were explaining there the Swiss cheese protection model with the layers. And Sean was talking about it, and I love to hear this. And related to the AI code production and the regulation itself as regulated entities, it's maybe for Martin and Thomas. Is there, I don't know, some rules of what level of resilience you need to have in the code with the like AI production, or it's just a future regulation inside Europe? I don't know, because like from my perspective, there is like Micah and Dora, and Dora speaks about the resilience, and with the production of the code right now, the resilience is the big question mark, I would say, even from the regulation perspective, because I believe they still don't know how to verify the resilience of the companies. But what is your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to talk a little bit about the multi-layer approach, and we don't deal a lot with Micah in terms of my team specifically. My focus more is around the ecosystem, the protocols, and protecting users and the different platforms. And so the way that we think about our approach is we're a relatively new layer one suite, right? We went on mainnet in 2023, early 2023. And we haven't been around for many years, like say Ethereum. And so there's a lot that we had to deploy off the bat, things like investigative capabilities. So we have tools like Merkle and Elliptic, and name your name your analytics platform that we can use to track and trace different transactions. But we also needed to be able to do things like real-time monitoring and response from a contract integration level. And we did a big public campaign, I guess, back in Q3, Q4 of last year, where we talked about the fact that we have teams like Blockade and Hypernative that are doing integrations with some of our protocol teams. And so they're doing threat modeling and writing alerts to identify different attack types, and actually have contract pausing capabilities as well if there is an attack detected. And so that helps us, on the investigative side and on the detection side. But there are also things we need to do from like an operational process review perspective. Does the team know what to do if they get hacked, or if there's an attempted exploit, or if somebody reports a bug to them? And so we actually work with the teams to do training, bespoke one-on-one training for each protocol team that is part of our program. And then there's more I can talk about as well related to contract vulnerability discovery. Hack and Proof is a great example where we have a bug bounty program with them, not only for the SWE core, but also for protocol teams, where protocol teams utilize sort of our contract vehicle in order to participate in the bug bounty program. And we've actually had, Igor, you might know the numbers better than me, but I would say 10 to 15 if I'm thinking off the bat in terms of number of bug bounty programs on SWE that have been stood up since we implemented our program late last year. So that's, again, from a maturity perspective, that's how we think about the multi-layered approach.
Yeah, I do not want to talk about DORA, the Digital Operational Resilience Act. Thomas, that is most likely more your turf. But following the multi-layered approach, I think is super important, So like, a multi-sig is making sure that not a single key is able to sign and execute. You actually need to have that actually on every layer of your architecture, that you basically have always a fallback mechanism, number one, but also a proof mechanism to make it resilient, so that not actually you have basically that you do not have a single point of failure, most likely call it, and that is one of these, I think, architectural design paradigms. You need to make sure it's deeply embedded in a system. That is IT, but also you really code itself, but that's also humans.
Yeah, maybe a short remark on DORA. I think it's my personal opinion is that it's really helping the industry to become more mature. As also now crypto financial institutions with a license need to follow it. So it will help everyone in the end to become a more mature industry. Coming back to the AI code, I think it comes to a risk assessment in the end, what you do, where you want to have your code written by AI put in place. Do you want to have it in mission critical systems or not? I think that's depending on the area you're in and the business you're in the end. But you need to have your secure development lifecycle in shape, in control, focus more on the testing and security testing side in order to have this validation of that code the code is secure and can be securely put into production.
Very interesting. So when it comes to access control and human attack surface, humans are still the weakest link in the whole chain of the events. What are you guys implementing in terms of continuous monitoring or verifying or second level of verification of the possibility of that weakest link? Thomas, you can take that one.
I think you need to somewhat technically enforce that the human can't be the weakest link. If you're like talking about privileged access in any sense, it was a long time. It was like there's an admin, he has his access all the time, anytime he wants. So we need to move away from these constant standing privileges to just in time giving them for a certain task, monitoring the sessions he does. So we can be sure that he just does the thing he's tasked to do. And if the user gets compromised, we also have some certain assurance that he doesn't have the privilege at all times.
I guess, Dennis, maybe you can tell us about some of the monitoring tools you have for that kind of reasons.
So our approach is very, very similar of what we are recommending to the companies. And Martin actually talked about this as well as multi-sig signature, for example, is that it's not only the signature itself and ability to divide the action on the couple parties, but also the active monitoring of what is going to be signed, to being able to understand what are the results of the signature, to be able to put some policies on top of it, some limits on withdrawals, and so on and so forth. So ability to monitor and to spot the anomalies, it is going to technically prevent you from a lot of different states, and like access control is one of it. If you are designing your system with the instant response in mind, you need to put a lot of these layers in each and every important decision that are making inside the companies. Yeah, it's huge amount of headache, but with the level of pressure and the stake, I believe that it's the hardest job. And honestly, I believe that CISA in Web 2 should be, I would say, it's much easier work for them than with the CISO who are working with digital assets, just because the amount of stake that there is, it's completely different. And guys, on your shoulders are a lot of pressure, I believe. But this is our view on the monitoring side.
Well taken. Got it. Okay, so on the other question, so there's a substantial rise in the devices takeovers. So the employees' hard drive being exploited to infiltrate the companies. You guys are all running substantial sized operations. What kind of security measures are you taking, or is this not something that is being brought up yet? Are you guys aware of this, or is this something that we should put more attention to and bring entities for more exposure on this? Martin, Thomas, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us are very aware in reading open source news that there are various criminal groups and nation state groups that are targeting companies in the Web3 ecosystem. That could be, layer one foundations, it could be exchanges, name your entity. And a lot of this happens by directly engaging with and performing social engineering against employees of those companies. And so without getting into the specifics, of course, of our program, we do think about this from the perspective of ensuring that we have the right level of visibility into employee laptops, and we have the right threat detection software installed, and that we have the right alerting platforms, and that our on-call structure is set up appropriately so that we can make sure that we have awareness of this 24/7, even though we're a very lean team. Looking back to Bybit, which we've talked about quite a bit, from what I have read and understand, the root of that was compromise of employee laptops, right? And that's how one of the ways that the actor was able to utilize components of the network. We want to make sure that that doesn't happen to us, right? And we recognize that any one employee and any one laptop can be the entry point. And so really, again, it's the visibility and the alerting mechanisms, as well as the response capabilities that are very important to being able to protect from that angle.
I fully agree. I would just add on that side. So it comes down to hardening the endpoint or the end user devices. Because in the old days, you had your office, you had your network, you had your parameters, which were secured, and you're sitting inside these parameters. Now the laptops, mobile devices are in the direct attack surface constantly. So we need to make sure that these devices are the secure layer.
Did I just hear Thomas say we need to get everybody back in the office? Is that what it is?
Not really, but still, we need to shift that focus on the endpoint to protect this endpoint and make them secure as possible.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when we were all in secure space, the infrastructure was more secure. But now with variables, people are working from Starbucks and wherever else they can find Wi-Fi. There's substantial exposure, and we're not even worried about it. We definitely as a company have implemented measures and so on. Don't download just files and basic stuff like that. That goes even without saying. But the number of attacks that I've been seeing and myself included, been somebody attempted to take advantage of, is that we've had people sending us Zoom links and asking us to join, and then these are fake Zoom links, and so if you guys, once again, don't trust anybody, just had to throw it out there, but always verify any link and don't download unnecessary files. But you guys know better than I do. All right, so something about contagious interview attacks. You guys know about that? So then how do you guys protect your developers with from that to happen? I guess, Sean, you would have a substantial developer community. Why don't you tell us about that?
We do. So again, as I mentioned earlier, we focus a lot on training and engagement with our protocols and having these bespoke conversations with them around, how does your protocol work? How do you do your interviews? How do you write code? How do you store code? How do you handle your onboarding process? And it's been interesting, actually, because where my expectation was that many of the teams being small and sort of, starting around the time we went on mainnet in 23, would have had very similar processes. They're actually all quite different. And so really informing them on the threat and how the actor works and what the successful campaigns look like has allowed them to change the way that their operations work, in order to, not prevent, right, but better protect against and have better awareness of the threats and how they're working.
It's
It's not only us.
okay.
Yeah, maybe it's system.
Oh,
I thought it's
there
my
it goes.
internet connection, but it seems to be more happening
No,
more
no,
often.
yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right. My question was, like, back when you do trade finance, you have to get licensed in order to be able to trade and make some securities, actions, and now anybody can go ahead and trade on some sex or whatever, without having any education. But maybe we should have people, before they trade, go through a little test. And so with that, maybe people that are implementing, from community that are implementing security should go through a test to understand their level of understanding of security implementation, right? So what do you guys feel on that? Should we kind of implement the requirements from devs to not underlie solely on the gut feelings, but the actual knowledge of security implementation? This goes to
I think
anybody
this
who wants
is
to grab
a
it.
question for kind of an investor protection, maybe more a question to a regulator rather than us. I guess So hey, we offer infrastructure and everyone can use it who is eligible to use it and to have the money. If you kind of if you have assets to trade, liquidity to trade, no one is preventing you from using tools in DeFi. I think So it's what it is.
I hear you. I hear you. You know, a lot of people are using this as a gambling mechanism, but we're talking about security, and so the important part is making sure that people are developing and are implementing what's necessary in terms of security. So, okay, so AI generated codes fail security about 45% of the time. I guess we've covered that, right? But should every commit be scanned automatically? Should there be an not just like one-off security approach? Should there be additional scanners? And I know Extractor is about that. Maybe you can elaborate on how that can be solved and what implementations can be made.
Yeah, I can try to explain this, and it's not only because of the AI. As we started the panel about the continuous security, and more than audits are not enough. I believe it's not only about the some constant monitoring tools. It's about ability to oversee your infrastructure and ability to rely on its security process. What we are trying to implement, implementing actually, it's as an audit, it's only start. So you have an audit, it's verifiable. You understand that how it's happening, what are the risks, what are the processes inside. But audit of one smart contract, it's not your own infrastructure, it's one piece of your infrastructure. So how can you oversee the infrastructure overall? And after that, from the cybersecurity partner, if you want to be a partner, how you can take part of this liability on your shoulders. So how not to provide an audit in one piece of time and provide you with a PDF, but how to subscribe to protection of the company's infrastructure for a year. And it's about completely different mindset of security people. So when we start communication and implementation of this, it was mind-blowing approach from the cybersecurity engineers. Then they're saying, okay, now I am not seeing only the one piece of code in these like 2 weeks. Now I'm responsible for the security of this piece of code during a year. So I'm going to implement much more fuzzing. I will build some invariant testing. I will build detectors and monitoring capabilities on top of it. And I will think about the incident response plan. So now we are in different world, and becoming a security partner means much more than providing one time audit in one particular period of time. So we are seeing this as a constant partnership with the subscription and with the liabilities on our shoulders. But very interesting to hear other guys on this.
Yes, maybe to add here, I think it's in line a bit with what Dennis said. I think you need to have this holistic approach. Like just focusing on smart contract is one thing. It's one piece of your whole infrastructure. You have other Web3 parts. You have the Web2. You have your people. You have your processes. So you need to cover all that in the end and invest in security operations, in security monitoring, and also the incident response. I think we come back to the resilience piece here. What do we do and how we are prepared if things fail? So.
Yeah, I totally agree. You know, so I think that multi-layered approach also comes to how you develop software. It is kind of, you know, if software development is iterative, you know, it's really kind of, you know, a process where you actually should go through several stages of kind of most likely improving the code, testing, etc., including audits, usually internal audits or kind of, you know, code scanning, etc., before you basically ship it, you know. So committing, I think error-prone code is not a big deal that happens every day. It's a big deal if it's actually being shipped and live on a platform, you know. So and that basically that needs to be autonomous. I think your point, you know, needs to be embedded in the process in people's mind, and that is also where AI actually also gives us the opportunity to can spend more time on that. That developers basically have more time to think about what they are doing. If really kind of, you know, let's be honest, 80% of coding is this stupid process, you know, data in, processing something, data out. It's actually connecting the dots where you see security issues, you know, and that gives developers an opportunity to improve the process, make it even more iterative, and also kind of, you know, spend more time on designing a secure system from the ground up, which is really not only considering a single smart contract.
Very cool. Everybody's got a very good output. So there's a lot of niche trends and such that are coming out. I mean, they're not niche anymore. They're becoming mainstream, I guess. The RWAs, right? So the tokenized RWAs are running 24/7. So should circuit breakers be automated or human controlled? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think if you look back into the what is it right now, 25 or whatever, kind of, you know, traditional trading going into the direction of 24/5, I think that is already automated, you know, high frequency trading, etc. So it's not a question whether it should, it's actually happening, and to make it 24/7, especially in DeFi, it has to be automated, you know. I think the great opportunity here is at first time it's happening if you do it right on the blockchain, so it's an immutable layer, and that it's all open source, you know, so that, of course, hey, everyone can look at the code, but it's also something where you can actually create systems which are much more resilient. Of course, also the thread is bigger, you know, everything will be connected with everything, and everything is a token in the future. So if something goes wrong, it can most likely you know, cause much more issues and create bigger threats than in the past, but it's also a great opportunity to build much more resilient systems, you know. And hey, if you look at Ethereum itself, for example, what a complex system, how it grew up over the years, and how still stable and secure it is, you know. So I think it's just like, you know, most likely one of the oldest and most complex decentralized computing systems I'm seeing at the moment. Just use that as an example.
Yeah, I think the automation is key, because with the blockchain you have the challenge coming up. There's a short window of time you have to react to attacks and stop things before it gets to finality. So you need to have some kind of automation in place in order to act according to the time you have. A human.
Yeah, you need preemptive measures, exactly, Thomas. Yeah, so I think if it's happening, it's too late. You know, Bybit told us, and many more examples.
Yeah, definitely.
So what are you guys are using just as a general approach? Are you guys using an automated scanners that are identifying it? What are you guys implementing within your companies to make sure that this doesn't happen to you?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, the way to think about this is machine controlled and human aware. You know, back when I was working in finance, we, of course, had a 24/7 team, but from a transaction perspective, things were happening during business hours, right? US East Coast, 9 to 5. Today on chain, right, especially with RWAs and all these other TradFi protocols that exist and apps that exist, things are happening 24/7. It's not scalable to put a human in charge of the security of that 24/7. And so, again, machine controlled, human aware would allow and does allow better scaling of security, in addition to, like Thomas and Martin both mentioned, a lot of the proactive approaches to making sure that a lot of the security is baked in from the start.
Igor, can I also ask a quick question here? Because I love to hear that everyone is implemented already the incident response plan and it's automated. The question is, how are you verifying that it's working? have you run through the tests additionally and check the resilience and verify that every automatical action working just from the curiosity?
Yeah, so I think what you're talking about here is how are we, in the ways that we work with the protocol teams on SWE, how are we not only validating that as a result of the training and implementation of incident response, that from an ongoing perspective, it remains in a good, healthy state, right? Speaking of scalability, there are dozens and dozens of teams that we work with. We are a lean team, like I think most L1s are, and don't have the cycles to continuously go, every few weeks, hey, let's do a test, let's do an exercise. But we do stay in close contact with them and share all the information we have. At the end of the day, we rely on, because of course it's the decentralized nature of our network, we rely on the teams to take their own actions. Our perspective is we're here to provide information, share information, and enable the teams to take whatever action they would like. And so at the end of the day, we have to rely on teams to take a smart action that will be healthy for their business and for the chain.
Maybe to add the view of the regulated entity. So we are even obliged to do so. So we need to run these tests. DORA, as the name states, I think it's focusing heavily on the resilience part, how you deal in case of crisis or emergencies, how you prepared, how you have your plans in shape. I think this comes down in the end to resilience, I would say, that you really have your things in shape and in place.
Very interesting. It seems like you guys have answered yourselves my next two questions in regards to incident response and operational reality. That's good. That's what you get when you deal with professionals.
I can. I can even share our view on the different regulations right now. So, in Abu Dhabi in ADGM, I was talking about this from the beginning. We are providing the real-time dashboard, and it's customized according to the requirements of the regulator. So, regulator proactively implement the supervision of every licensed entities that is one day or another is dealing with digital assets. So basically, at the moment of the violating any type of regulation, regulator know about this very proactively. In Europe, it's not implemented and it's fully on the shoulders of the entities themselves. But at the same time, to get the license, I believe much more harder. But we see that more and more regulators wanted to utilize this ability to oversee everything on chain and to make sure that companies are resilient, that they are not violating any type of rules. From our perspective, it makes the industry very resilient and very clean from one perspective. From other, maybe the level of entry also is pretty high. Yeah.
So let's say hypothetically, we're 5 of us are creating the 2026 survival guide. What would you guys include as a must-have for 2026? And how would you avoid becoming a headline on tomorrow's news? Let's make a guideline for those that are coming in. I guess this goes for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, three things come to top of mind. 1, process review. 2, audits. And 3, training. Putting those things together will cover a lot of the components that are important for teams to have.
I would add, as already mentioned before, monitoring, having incident response resources and capabilities available, and in order to deploy them in time if things happen, I think being ready in the end.
I think all of that, including really have a sense of accountability in the entire team and update all these tools on a very regular basis where you include the people, So I think the biggest issue is not having a training, but having a training which is most likely not up to date and it's not kind of, focusing on what the market is actually moving to, what are the biggest threats you're facing at the moment. So that really also needs something, even with a small regular updates and a very open discussion in the team, how actually those tools need to be changed and updated, or maybe new tools need to be added.
Martin, you brought up a very good point in regards to having a constantly updated incident response and in knowing what to do. It's very important. It's much needed. But I found out that it's very important to actually speak to the team and find out who's actually responsible for which step, because everybody's pointing fingers, right? So make sure you not only design it, not only you implement it, but you give tasks to people to take advantage of. So, Dennis, did you have something to add to this? You want to be part of this?
I would say that from what we are seeing, it's much more education in the traditional Web 2 and the connection between the Web 2 and Web 3. And on top of this, full visibility of these processes and these connections, and taking security not as a state, but as a process. And taking responsibility, as you mentioned, actually. I would say that this is, from us and from what we do, is one of the biggest priorities for the next year, because we see that Web3 understanding and security understanding is very on a good level right now. Web2 understanding from the DeFi projects, they are not thinking of Web2 security as serious as we believe they should, and the visibility and connection. Yeah.
All right. So who do you guys think will be the killer of projects in 2026? The attackers, regulators, or internal carelessness?
For me, it's carelessness. I think that everybody needs to do the basic steps, some of which we outlined here.
Yeah, same. I would say carelessness, or if projects confuse compliance with security. I think that's also something which you always need to consider. Compliance can help to raise security, but it doesn't need to be. And so I think a lot of things come down to the basics, taking Web 2 hygiene into consideration. Web 3, we understand how to do it. I think getting these things together in a proper way.
Totally agree with Thomas. It's not only, that's why I'm kind of, hesitant to kind of, find their priorities or kind of order them. It's also compliance in parallel or on top or whatever. It's not only about IT security. It's also kind of, if you have compliant processes in place, and that really needs actually kind of, an organization that is able to deliver consistently on those requirements.
Very interesting. Thank you, gentlemen. Dennis, you have something to say? I keep on cutting you off.
Go on.
No, go ahead. So it looks like we're running out of time, but this conversation can keep on going. I definitely have a lot of questions and interesting thoughts, but let's take away. If this was your message to the security industry, what would you like to see? What would you like them to implement? The security people, the projects, and what is your takeaway of today's conversation?
For me, the takeaway is multi-layered approach. We talked about it in different ways. Training and response readiness.
I would just
understand
add
security not as something that is added, it needs to be embedded, I think, so, and that's already, if you are able really to do that, it's half the journey.
then take the full picture in the end. So consider the Web 2. You can learn a lot from the Web 2 space, and also consider Web 3. I think crypto knows how to secure Web 3, but we need to learn also from the Web 2 guys in the end.
My takeaway would be continuous process all the time, not a state. Don't think of the audit as you are secure and you're resilient. Please take it as constant investment of your time. It's boring. It's sometimes you want to kill yourself of how many steps for the multi-layer approach, but only this makes you secure.
Okay. I want to thank everybody for being a good sport and engaging in the conversation. I'm assuming we'll be catching up on all of our continuous engagement with your preferred security provider. In any case, thank you very much, guys. Have a good night and happy 2026. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.